Hey everyone, Steve from the BGBBQ podcast here. Today I'm doing a video review of a game that I've not played by one of my favourite producers. So Stonemaier Games, producer of Wingspan, Tapestry, Viticulture, and of course my favourite game, Scythe, released a game 3 years ago called Between Two Castles at Mad King Ludwig. This one right here. So this is what we're going to review today. The reason I thought I'd do a review 3 years after release is because there's just about to be an expansion that's about to be released. I think the pre-orders have closed, but it'll be hitting Australian shores shortly and also be available in retailers later in the year. So I thought, why not get the original game out and have a play? Now, I just mentioned the original game. It's important to note that this game is actually a combination of two other games. So before this, there was Between Two Cities, which was a Stonemaier Games release, which I haven't played. And then there was Castles of Mad King Ludwig from Bezier Games, which I have played. So I'm interested to see how this works. Let's get it to the table and let's find out. Okay, so the first thing you're going to notice is the artwork here, which is quite nice. It's a lovely setting. Then we're going to open the game up and you'll see the component quality, as per standard with Stonemaier these days, is excellent. So the first thing you'll notice is the rulebook here, which has that little linen finish that we've come to expect from Stonemaier Games. One thing you don't see often in Stonemaier Games, though, is game trays. So these game trays are all set out. These are the special tiles that you can get throughout the game. They come in a nice set. These are the little objectives that you can trace. We'll get into those in a little bit. We have all the other components. And then we have the main game tray. As you can see, there's not a lot of components to this game, which is good, but this game tray holds all of the pieces that you'll need to play the game, and it's really well set out. This goes up to 7 players. This is player 1, player 2, player 3, player 4, player 5, player 6, and player 7. These are your bonus ones. So it's all very easily set out. So if I take the lid off, you see that nothing flies off, everything stays in the tray. You use the tray for the game. You've got your little tokens for each player there as well. So really handy. That just sits out in the middle of the table. As far as setup is concerned, it's a very easy game to set up. Like I mentioned, this kind of can stay in the middle of the table, or you can put it off to the side if you haven't got a lot of room. These are the start to your castles, and you'll just put one in between each of the players. So let's pretend we're playing a 4-player game here. I'm just going to set up one in between each of the 4 players. So I want to say in between, this is between two castles of Mad King Ludwig. So you're actually building 2 castles, not 1. You'll start with a set of tiles. So you start with 9 tiles in round 1, and then you start with the other 9 tiles in round 2. Now these will range from different buildings. I'm not sure how this will look on the camera. Let's just have a look. Okay, so let's have a look at some of these tiles up close. So first we've got the children's room. So as you can see on this tile here, you've got a few things to look at. Firstly, you've got the type of room it is. So this is a ZZZ room, or a sleeping room, or a bedroom. And then on the side here, you've got this other little symbol, which in this case is swords, which is great for a children's room. And then you've got its scoring conditions. So this will score 4 victory points if surrounded by 5 different tiles, 5 different colours of tiles. Or if not, it'll just count as 1 point. Now what's important with these tiles, I'll show you another one here, the chocolate room, is that they all have different symbols. So this one instead has the wine glass in the top left, and it's got the little rectangle in the top right, and it scores differently again. So this scores 2 victory points per downstairs room that is directly below this tile. So what this does is that each style of tile gives you the same type of point scoring, but what you're trying to do is gain sets of these. So I want to get 3, if I get 3 of these wine glasses, then it allows me to get a special tile. So the special tiles that you get on each set are what's listed on these cards. So if I got those 3 food, which I just talked about, the wine glass, it scores 2, which I just spoke about, 2 per something, either above or below it. And I get to draw 5 spare tiles out and place an extra tile on my room. And as you can see on the card there, each different symbol gives you a separate bonus. So there's a little bit of variability in regards to what strategy you would take, but also it's that set collection element of trying to get at least 3 of something to boost your city. Now there is a bit of a trick to this game though. As I mentioned, you start with 9 tiles. Each player will start with 9 tiles. And your job is to choose 2 of them. So let's say I'm going to choose these 2, I'll put those face down, and then the other 7 tiles I'm going to go put for the other player. They'll have their token out and I'll set it up underneath their token. So it's kind of like a card drafting element here. But the reason I've chosen 2 tiles is I need to put one of these attached to either one of my 2 castles. So I can't put them both on one castle, and I also need to adhere by the placement rules of the castle. So for every tile that doesn't have a little basement symbol on it, I need to place it either adjacent, either in line with the main tile or above it. And if I have one of these blue tiles, if I place one of these blue tiles, which I might get later on, I can't put anything above a blue tile because it doesn't have a foundation. You can't build upon it. This is an outdoor fountain, so you can't put a house on top of an outdoor fountain. But you can on top of a dressing room because it could be a second layer of that castle. So that's a really nifty little thing as well. And basically what happens is everyone does the same thing. So I'll put one tile on here, but the player to my left will also put one tile in this castle. My player to the right will put one tile in this castle. So you're both building the same city. You can work together as much as you like. You can talk to each other about who should put what where. You can work out your own strategy. So you're working with 2 people throughout the entirety of the game. This will continue until all of this pile of tiles has gone around and there's only one left. And when there's one left, that's the end of the round. You put these to the side and then you do this same thing starting in the second round, except this time, once I take my 2 tiles, I will pass my tile stack that way. So it goes in reverse order this time. So you're probably thinking, well, this seems pretty straightforward. I'm just going to choose all the great tiles to go onto this building, and I'll just put all the other ones over here. However, in order to win this game, you need to score your lowest scoring castle. So if this one scores me 100 points and this one scores me 10, my final score is 10. So you need to pay equal attention to both castles. You can't let one fall behind the other too far, otherwise you're just hurting yourself. In a game I played recently of this, I actually won the game. I had one castle worth 71 and one worth 43. But the other 2 people I was playing with, their castle between them was worth 31. So one of them had 71 and 31, and the other one had 43 and 31. I had 71 and 43, so 43 was the winning score. And that's how the scores break down. But that's really all there is to this game. It's quite a simple game. There's some other little nice elements as well. So you can also get these tiles at different points in the game, and these are like extra scoring points for endgame. I don't know if that'll focus there, yep. And these actually sit next to your king in your castle, just to add a bit of a point scoring boost at the end of the game. So that's basically how the game works. There's plenty of, it's been around for a few years, so there's plenty of how to play videos out there, so I'll leave it at that, and then we'll get to my thoughts on the game. As I mentioned at the top of the show, I've played Castles of Mad King Ludwig, and I quite liked it. I thought the tiles in Castles of Mad King Ludwig, so these tiles here are just like all either double rectangle size or most of them are the single rectangle size. And I thought the tiles in King Ludwig, the first one, were a bit more interesting because they were different shapes. But I don't think it was a better game. The problem with Castles of Mad King Ludwig is the betting system was a bit flawed in the sense that one person set the price for everybody else to purchase, and that was a bit too strong of a power, I thought. So the game, I guess, lost a little bit for me there. As I said, I've never played Between Two Cities. So the big question for me is this an improvement on Castles of Mad King Ludwig, first and foremost? And the answer to that is a resounding yes. This is definitely, in my opinion, a better game than the straight-up Castles by Bezier games. So it definitely is an improvement. Now, is an improvement good enough to make this a good game, or a game that I'll play again? And again, it's a resounding yes. The thing I love about Stonemaier games is one of their pillars is about making sure that their games can play at least 5 players. This one goes up to 7, and because of the simultaneous play, it doesn't lose any time. So the only downtime in this game is when you're discussing with one person how you're going to lay a tile, and then you've got to discuss with the other person how to lay down a tile. And it's possible in a larger player game, and even in a small player game, that a couple of people would have made that decision quicker than others, and they're just waiting for the other people to finish. But that's quite minimal, and that's really the only downtime in this game. A 7-player game of Between Two Castles would take maybe 10 minutes longer than a 3-player game, which is the minimum player count. I think there is a 2-player variant, but I think it's best from 3 to 7, and it will scale quite well within those numbers. The game itself, the drafting mechanic, where you take 2 tiles and pass them along, I love a good card drafting mechanic, so this just is right up my alley for this. It's quick and easy. You've got decisions to make because you're trying to match up not only the sets but also the placement to get victory points based on where you place the tiles. And there's also other little things that you want to try and work towards, like these little goals, which I didn't speak about in the overview, but at certain points you can get these. And for example, this one here, you probably won't be able to see it from there, but it gives you 2 victory points per corridor in your entire castle. So these can be quite strong as well. So there's lots of different ways to score points in this game. There's lots of different ways to go about building your castles. You can literally have 2 separate strategies going at the same time, one on your left and one on your right. It's really good. It plays pretty quick. So like I said, there's 2 decks. There's 9 tiles in each. You're only going to use 8 of them, so that's 4. So 8 rounds total for the game. So it's not slow at all. It's quite a quick game. Production quality is great. Typical Stonemaier games production quality. The game trays is a lovely addition, which I haven't seen in Stonemaier games before. So this one is definitely a winner for me. If I was to give it a rating, I'd probably say it sits at that 8 to 8.5 out of 10, and will definitely get played again. A great family game as well. I played it with my 7-year-old Raphael, and he was able to understand what was going on from the first play. So that is Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig. I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. So then that leaves one more question to be asked. Did I end up pre-ordering the expansion, or am I going to purchase the expansion? At this stage, because I've only just played this game, I don't need to rush out and grab the expansion at this point. The pre-order actually just closed when I received this copy, so I didn't have a chance to jump onto the pre-order. But it will be in stores, and I think it might be a game that after you've played many times, you may be looking for some extra content. But just out of the base box, the variation in the tiles, the variation in the strategies, and the variation in the people you play with means that this game could quite easily have a long shelf life without an expansion. So I'm not sure. I'll see. I guess it'll depend on how I feel about the game after many more plays. I've only played a handful of times to this point, so it's hard to say that I can see why you would want an expansion, and that probably goes along with the turf of the fact that Stonemaier games themselves haven't released an expansion for 3 years after release of this game, because it really doesn't need that extra content out of the box. It's more for people who play the game quite a lot, who are looking for something different, and this one would offer many plays before you would get to that point. So there you go, 8 out of 10, and the expansion, I'm a maybe. Thanks for watching, hope you found it informative, and hopefully we can sit around the table one day and build some castles together. Cheers!